Good morning, everybody. We've got a higher trade in the grain markets here early on Thursday morning. It is 6:30 a.m. Central Time. March corn futures up 6 at 577.5. January soybeans up 5 1/4 at 1233.5. March Chicago wheat up 13 3/4 at 804 1/4. March Kansas City wheat up 14.5 cents at 833 3/4. March spring wheat is up 9 cents at 1028 3/4. If you guys are listening on the podcast, as always, appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you need some additional assistance from me, go to my website. It is www.standardgrain.com. Click on Grain Marketing Plan here in the upper right-hand corner. For $49.99 a month, I've got a subscription service. You should check it out. This is a ton of information direct from me regarding grain markets, grain marketing, specific recommendations. It's a monthly deal. You can cancel it at any time. No other fee, no other obligation, nothing like that. Quick shout out this morning to my friends at South Central College in North Mankato, Minnesota. They have a commodity marketing class there, and apparently they watch my videos fairly often. And I did a quick question and answer deal with them over a Zoom video a couple weeks ago, and they are a very intelligent group of future farmers and commodity professionals. So thank you guys. Quick shout out this morning. Hope you guys are doing well. So we've got the new COVID variant here in the United States less than a week after it was first detected in South Africa. It's in California, and this was only a matter of time until this happened, I guess. President Biden will reportedly extend mask mandates. He's going to be out with some sort of announcement regarding a plan for this today. But the report is that Biden will extend mask mandates for travel through March. Those mandates had been scheduled to expire in mid-January. A new Biden strategy may also entail more strict testing for all international travelers. Some reports suggest that the New York Times, I think, was reporting that, it was the Washington Post reporting that there may be a 7-day quarantine period for international travelers, regardless of test results or vaccination status. Dr. Fauci continues to push vaccines. Financial markets sold off on the news yesterday, but recover here this morning. So it's like same story, different day. I mean, I have to talk about this stuff, guys, because it absolutely does move the market, and it's a big risk to our grain markets for a couple of reasons that I'll talk about here in a minute. The S&P 500 in related news has lost 4.9% from its peak. The all-time high was November 22nd, and down to yesterday's low. That's a drawdown of about 4.9%. We had a similar drawdown from early September through early October that resulted in a drawdown of about 6%. I think it was 5.9%. So we've got a correction underway here, I guess you could say. The last 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, that was the worst 2-day losing streak in the S&P since October of last year. And, a lot of this has to do with the new variant. A lot of it is just liquidation. You've got a lot of money moving around in these markets. And when you get this new COVID thing, and then you also had comments from the Fed this week, Jerome Powell indicating that the Fed's tapering process may be accelerated due to inflationary pressures. Both of those are negative and have certainly caused some liquidation. U.S. ethanol production declined last week, 1.035 million barrels per day. That was down 4% on the week. It was up 6% versus the same week in 2020, down 2.5% versus the same week in 2019. Margins for U.S. ethanol producers remain very strong. They've come down just a little bit, but still very, very good. And the reason why this new variant and this COVID stuff remains a big risk, in my view, is because of the ethanol implication. I mean, if you get back, and I don't think this is going to happen, but if you get back to any sort of lockdown situation, any sort of situation that results ultimately in reduced fuel usage, that means reduced demand for ethanol. It means reduced demand for corn. That's what happened in spring of 2020. No, I don't think that we repeat that at all. I don't think that that's what's going to happen. But when you start talking about new restrictions and things along those lines, there's always that risk. So it's a big deal. And I've let off with this COVID thing the last 3 days. I don't like doing it, but it's important, guys. Larger estimates for Brazil's corn and soybean crops continue to emerge. StoneX, that's FC Stone, they pegged the Brazilian bean crop at 145.1 million metric tons. Their previous estimate was 144.7. It's a monster crop no matter which way you slice it. USDA is at 144. Any of those numbers represent a new record. They've got the country's corn crop at a whopping 120 million metric tons. Remember, they had like basically a crop failure last year because of drought. Most of Brazil is in very good shape, barring some southern areas, southern states that have been drier. Weather has been generally favorable elsewhere. They had a lot of moisture deficits, very dry conditions to start the season, but they've had a ton of rain, very widespread rain, with the exception of those southern areas which have been drier. World food prices continue to rise. The Food and Agriculture Organization had their World Food Price Index out this week. The index was up again in November. It's up 28% year over year. It's only 2.5% shy of the all-time high that was posted in March of 2011. The index is a measure of the monthly change in international prices of a basket of food commodities. It consists of the average of 5 commodity group price indices weighted by the average export shares of each of the groups. So long story short, I mean, food prices are rising. We know that. We know we've got inflation. It's not just here in the U.S., it's global. And it results in things like, Russia taxing wheat exports, other countries, eyeing food security as being an issue. So this is certainly something to keep an eye on. OPEC is likely to discuss pausing an oil output increase that was planned for January. I talked about this yesterday, but there was one update this morning. An OPEC source told Reuters, in reference to the U.S. release of oil reserves, he said this: the Omicron COVID-19 variant and U.S. intervention in the oil market have created a vague situation. So previously, OPEC had agreed to add 400,000 barrels per day to global oil supplies as it basically it was in the process of unwinding last year's COVID-related supply cuts, and now that's kind of in question because of this new variant, because the U.S. released reserves along with other countries. So lots of issues there. We are trading a little bit higher in the crude oil here this morning. We have got an export sales report this morning at 7:30. Corn sales expected 600 to 1.2. Soybean sales expected 800 to 1.8. Wheat sales expected 250 to 600. Cattle market finished higher yesterday. Really good trade in the feeder cattle. Fat cattle were also higher. Cash feeder cattle very strong. Cash cattle very strong. We'll see what develops later this week. In the outside markets, the U.S. dollar is marginally lower. The S&P is up 10 points. The Dow's up 170. A little recovery in the stock market. Bonds just a few ticks higher. Precious metals are mixed. Crude oil now up only 10 cents at 65.67 in the January WTI, a couple bucks off the highs almost. Everybody have a great day today. I'll talk to you guys same time tomorrow.